Etsy, the e-commerce marketplace best known for crafts like a taxidermied mouse snorting fake cocaine with a real $1 bill and corn-scented ear of corn soap, is buying luxury resale platform Depop for a cool $1.6 billion. So a couple key notes here. So 90% of Depop's users are under 26 years old. So Depop, this is a resale platform, luxury resale platform. And most of Etsy's current customers are millennials. So the play here is that this deal gives Etsy access to those Depop users, and Depop will be able to draw from Etsy's experience to scale internationally. Chris, what are you thinking here?
Oh man, I don't have a ton. I don't have a ton to say on this one. I think it's a cool story. It's a huge amount of money. Again, $1.6 billion. I mean, the one thing that's coming through my head is like, and that was a great opening read, by the way. We're definitely dialing it up to 11 here, but I can't see, like I can't stop thinking, when does this trend end, right? Like, what does it all mean?
What trend? The resale
trend?
The
resale trend. Like just the amount of money. I
don't think it ends.
I mean, Rent the Runway is getting in this business this week too. Like, I just don't see where it ends. And I think Etsy, it's a great move. I mean, Etsy to me has as much right to win in that space as anyone, given what they've done with their heritage. I think the important question it raised for me this week is like, let's play this out 5 or 10 years, right? If resale is really that big of a proportion of consumption, right? That's what Gen Zs want to buy, which there's still a little part of me of like how much of this is a trend that lasts, but I think it's probably more here to stay than it's not. Well, that means you're selling less stuff as a retailer overall, less new stuff as a retailer overall. And the retailers are going to want to grab that. Like, they want a piece of that pie. Right now, so much of it feels like it's going through these like marketplace, type offerings or these new online commerce players. And the retailers are kind of stuck on their own, either, via peer-to-peer commerce or something like that, that the retailers have to start grabbing this back. So I think back to like the conversation we had last week with Recurate, where they're enabling retailers to take control of some of that. I think that's only just going to be more important. That was like my kind of big aha, is that the retailers are going to want to start grabbing back some of this volume if this trend is as big as it is. And right now they aren't seemingly positioned to do that through their own capabilities.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I do want to point out though, that I think that there's a place for the Depops, the Real Reals, the Noisofts of the world. I mentioned this before, but I think for me, these companies with their curated kind of points of view, it's not just, ThreadUp or Poshmark where you can throw up any product on. This is heavily curated product. And to me, this is like what the equivalent of the department store is for Gen Z. I think that this is where they go to find these specialty items. And so there's an opportunity for them to exist with brands in the same space. But yes, I think you're right. Like brands are going to have to, as Adam Siegel was saying from Recurate, like they're going to have to think about what their strategy is to bring more of this in. I think the Etsy acquisition makes sense. They're one of the largest peer-to-peer commerce sites, so they will be able to help Depop really kind of blow up. They're really popular in Europe right now, but as they continue to expand to the US. But one thing that I will be watching really closely is if Etsy does see the Gen Z traffic that they, I think, are expecting from this. Do they start to see, just because Gen Z is interested in Depop, I don't think that is equal to the Etsy audience. I want to see how much draw they actually get from this. Etsy has some real huge seller problems to iron out. They've been kicking people off off their platforms for reasons. And I think that will be a problem with Depop customers and sellers if they try to take over too much of that part of the operations. But
yeah, that's a great point. It's like how much 1 + 1 equals 3 is there in this? There might be in terms of like how to operationalize it, get scale on the Depop side, but does it translate back? Yeah, that's a really good point. The last thing just to close that I thought about as you were saying that is like, we talk about this a lot on the shows, like just because something's new doesn't mean it's that revolutionary, right? What I hear you saying is like, okay, thrift stores have been around forever. They've been merchandised and retailed in communities, and some of the brands are bigger than others, but there are brands out there if you study this. And so, yeah, your point is right. It's like, okay, who's just going to own that space in the online world where they are the merchant and they are the merchandiser? And then you have, kind of the peer-to-peer, and how does peer-to-peer work in that? And then what I think that's what I come back to again, like, what is it showing? What are the retailers doing to grab a piece of that pie that they probably never had thought about before because it just was never such an important part of the business as it seemingly is becoming now based on the latest trends around sustainability and value.